The Sky Bet Championship is back this Friday night. Birmingham against Ipswich kicks off the championship season. What a fixture to kick things off. I'm Ali Maxwell. He's the slightly below average George Ellick. Hi, mate.
That's rude.
Well,
Why?
It's descriptive rather than pejorative. You scored 43 points last weekend in Fantasy EFL, and the game week average was 45.
I would say there's more to me than my Fantasy EFL team.
Well, yes, but also specifically for this episode, no, because this is George and myself selecting our teams for the Championship's opening weekend in Fantasy EFL. Sign up to Fantasy EFL now. Make sure you're taking us on. It's great fun to play. It's really simple. It's brilliant whether you know everything there is to know about the EFL or not as much as that. You select 7 players and 2 clubs each week. No hard deadlines, no budgets, really easy to play. And while we talk you through our teams, you can be choosing your strategy and your team for this weekend. When you sign up, you select the club that you support. You'll be entered into that club's mini league. And if you win that mini league this season, you will win a season ticket for next season, which is some prize. You can also create your own mini leagues to take on family and friends, or, and we think this is the most important of all, join the NTT20 Mini League to take on over 1,000 of the smartest EFL connoisseurs around. Shout out to A. Al Ghali, who got 85 points last weekend and tops the NTT20 table heading into this weekend. But remember, at this stage of the season, we shouldn't even be looking at league tables. They don't matter. It's all about process. And that's what we're going to talk you through today. So with the team picks, it's pretty straightforward. You select a team, you want them to win. If they do, you get plus 5 points. But there's a little bit more to it than that. An away win gets you an extra 2 points bonus. A clean sheet gets you plus 2. If that club scores 2 goals, you get plus 2. If they score 4 goals, you get plus 2 as well. So I was hoping for like a plus 9 last week. I got it from Lincoln with a 2-0 win. Didn't quite get it from Luton, 7 points for a 1-0 win. The top scoring team was Fleetwood Town. They got 11 points. That's because it was a 2-0 away win, which strikes me, George, as like, if you can pick a 2-0 away win in Fantasy EFL, you've absolutely
all the points.
Nailed it. Who are your teams this week?
2 home teams. I've gone for all championship in my everything this week. I'm so excited about the return of the second tier that I'm going pure championship. First up, I've got Southampton, who are home to Wrexham. Thinking here being that Wrexham are the perception amongst maybe quite a lot of neutrals and casuals and day trippers. That Wrexham are going to be quite strong. They might be, but I think they'll probably improve as the window goes on. A couple of big name signings still yet to come in. You know, it's seemingly Kiefer Moore, Nathan Broadhead to come in the building, but not there yet. And Southampton come down with some doubts about their credentials after one of the worst seasons in Premier League history last season. So I kind of think as a clash, Southampton probably won't be given quite as much love for how likely they are to win the game. And also we know from last season that if there is a weakness to Wrexham, it's their goal scoring, especially with those players yet to come in and therefore a clean sheet and a win to nil, which is what you're after here, is very much on the cards. Second one is Oxford United.
Go on then.
Home to Pompey. Yeah, a few reasons for this. Again, they are favourites at home, and yet I'm pretty sure the percentage selected by won't probably reflect that. And they've got Gary Rowett as manager, who, even if Oxford are relegated this season, I'm pretty sure we will keep loads of clean sheets in the process. And crucially, Colby Bishop is injured for Pompey. And last season when Colby Bishop was out, Pompey struggled, and when Colby Bishop was in, they flourished. And therefore, if their kind of main goal-scoring threat, but a player who offers more than that, is out of the team, then that gives me even more reason to think that maybe the mighty Yellows can keep a clean sheet. So Saints and Oxford, many people's 2 best teams in the whole division.
0.2% selected Oxford. So
there you go.
Is this you in any way trying to dodge accusations from within the fan base that you are something of a turncoat?
Fan base?
Fan base. That you are basically a turncoat, a traitor, treacherous on account of selecting Oxford to be relegated? Because some of the comments from Oxford fans, even the ones that said, can absolutely see where you're coming from, George, were still quite sad that you went ahead and did that.
The PR machine's been in overdrive. I've taken some advice. Is this the product of that? Would I jeopardise my own Fantasy EFL team just to save face? Yeah, absolutely. There's more of this to come as well. No, it's a very much an idea that I think we have a chance, even though I'm terrified of watching the Josh Murphy show in the flesh on Saturday, I think we have enough about us to keep a clean sheet on opening day. And I know that's how we'll go into the game, looking to do so. And if we do that, then we should get some points.
Okay. Would you believe it? We have a double pick because I'm going at Southampton as well at home to Wrexham.
The way you said it made me think it was going to be...
Obviously not.
What do you mean?
Pompey are the ones for that game, if anyone.
Okay.
Only 2% owned Southampton, or 2% picked, I guess, this weekend, which really surprised me. Maybe it's the Wrexham factor, but you know who my Hollywood star is? Will Still. William Stilliam. And his sidekick, Shay Charles. I'm so excited to see what this Southampton team looks like in the flesh. I've built them up a lot in my head based on very little other than vibes and gut instinct, but I think that they might look pretty good and be quite well set to go well this season. So Saints to beat Wrexham at home is my first club pick, and then Stevenage at home to Rotherham in League One, only 0.8% owned, trying to repeat the trick with Lincoln last week, who were real niche pick and got me 9 points. Stevenage won at Blackpool. I think that they'll be, buoyed in confidence off the back of that. But mainly is because they look very settled already. They look like they can kind of carry on from last season, where they were a very solid League One team. And they're at home to a Rotherham side whose performance, even in beating Port Vale, gave me a little cause for concern. But mainly because Rotherham have Zach Jules suspended after his red card, and Sean Raggett is out injured. So 2 of their senior centre-backs and probably their strongest penalty box defenders are both missing here. It'll be something like Rafferty, Agbear and James at left centre-back, who's more of a left-back anyway. And I think that Stevenage, with Carl Piergiani in particular, can make hay from set pieces. I think that they are the team more likely to win this game. And so I like this a lot as a differential team pick at 0.8%. Goalkeepers, love them or hate them. We all need them, certainly in Fantasy EFL terms, and you get 5 points for a clean sheet. You get -1 for every 2 goals conceded, +5 for a pen save, +2 for every 3 saves, and +10 if your goalie scores a goal. George,
Goalie?
Who's your keeper?
So, Ali, what does Nathan Jones love?
Well, he's a passionate guy.
Yeah.
Hates shopping on a Tuesday afternoon.
Correct.
Loves physical intensity.
Clean sheets.
Yes, and that.
Spends a lot of time doing laundry. He loves clean sheets. It's what Charlton's success in League One was built on last season, and they have upgraded in goal with Thomas Kaminski coming in, who made the 3rd most saves in the Championship last season when he was Luton Town keeper. Charlton host Watford. Massive question marks for me about Watford going into the season. They might be brilliant, but they ended last season pretty poorly. We've got a new manager we know very little about, a lot of new young players coming in who you'd think will have to kind of settle. And key attacking players injured, or one very key attacking player injured in Georgie Chakvetadze. So it wouldn't surprise me at all if Charlton were able to keep a clean sheet here. And that will certainly be, we know at Charlton how they're going to set up and how they're going to look to approach the game. And that will be the kind of cornerstone to their success if they have it. So Kaminski in goal seems an obvious one for me.
Another Championship keeper for me, Carl Rushworth, making his Coventry City debut this weekend. The Brighton loanee, only 0.6% selected, and they are at home to Hull. Rushworth is a great keeper, and he had basically perfect progression on loan in League 2, then in League 1, and then had a good loan in the Championship with Swansea, and then last year just stalled a little bit through injury and nothing more when he was, funnily enough, at Hull, who he takes on this weekend. It's a Hull side that are going into the season a little bit light on numbers. They've had some restrictions in the transfer market this summer. They've got quite a lot of injuries, and it's mainly at the top of the pitch where they're looking a bit light. The last friendly they played had Abu Kamara on the right, Nathan Tinsdale, a young player, on the left, and Kyle Joseph up top with not a huge amount on the bench either. There are some names being linked, but at the time of recording, they haven't signed any attacking firepower. So I think Rushworth, Coventry, a good thing here for a clean sheet. He's my keeper.
Right, I'm playing a 3-2-1 because, as was the case last week, I think defenders are where you get your points, less risk. And I'm kind of targeting clubs that might be seen as being some of the poorer teams in the league, but who will go about their business getting clean sheets in my mind. And that is what we need. And obviously you want those big, meaty defenders who will clear, head, and maybe even score. Now I'm going to come out here and say it. And a bit of bias here, maybe. I've got Oxford as one of my teams. Michal Helik is my captain this week.
Yeah.
And he will be my captain for every single game week of the season whilst he is fit.
Okay.
I am convinced that he will get, if not the most points of any defender in the league, then right up there. Last season, he ended up with the 7th most points amongst Championship defenders. Important to note, that he spent the first half of the season at Huddersfield. He was injured for a period. They weren't particularly good at that time. And then he came to Oxford, where he scored 5 goals. Mm-hmm. Will always be a huge set-piece threat, as we know. I cannot see a world in which he doesn't score at least 5 goals this season over the whole campaign. He does loads of clearances consistently. Loves clearing the ball.
He does.
And he plays for Gary Rowett, who, as I said, likes to keep clean sheets. So Michal Helik is my captain for the whole season if he stays fit. Danny Butt is my next one. He's gone in at Derby. Derby are away at Stoke. Again, this is more just a John Eustace thing. Like Gary Rowett, if Derby is successful, if Derby are good this season, they're going to keep loads of clean sheets. Danny Butt, someone who is, again, a big clearer. 10 clearances. Top 10 for clearances last season in the Championship. And I think in his new team will get a lot of points. And a player who didn't get loads of points last season in Steve Cook, but playing at home for QPR against the Preston side, who I think have real issues from an attacking perspective. Again, this feels to me like one of the most obvious clean sheets of opening weekend, but probably won't be seen as such because it's a game between two teams of which both are kind of anticipated to be fighting off relegation. So, and also, I would say Cook, Helik and Bart, all pretty good set-piece goal threats too. What's wrong?
Would you like any vegetables with all that meat?
Yeah.
Great picks.
Thank you.
Great picks. I think what we kind of touched on it last week. What's interesting about the big meaty centre-back approach is that actually it's very rarely the best teams in the league whose centre-backs score the most points unless they are keeping so many clean sheets like Burnley did last season. You're almost trying to find the balance between centre-backs who will be busy enough that they can rack up the clearances points. You get +1 for every 4. Will also keep clean sheets and obviously are a goal threat for +7 for a goal. If you're a defender.
Can I ask you, because Helik is my captain this week. Mm-hmm. Last week it was Youssef Selek, who only got 3 points. He didn't score. Part of the reason I'm doing this Helik captaincy thing is because I've realised now, making strikers, or even midfielders captains, it just seems like a high-risk strategy. Like it feels easier to strike upon, an 8 points, maybe even double figures if they score a goal in defenders. How do you approach this?
No, I think that's absolutely fair. I think some of the sharpest minds in Fantasy EFL would agree with you there, George, that captaining a BMCB is probably the smart play, partly because if their team concedes, there's still probably more chance of them getting good points from clearances, for example, than if a goal scorer doesn't score, where there's very little other way of them getting points. I've got a Blackburn Rovers centre-back, Dom Hyam, away at West Bromwich Albion. He is, as we record, 0.0% selected. I think I might be the only person in the world who has selected Dom Hyam to play for my Fantasy EFL team this weekend, which I love, as you can imagine. 339 clearances last season, which was 64 more than any other Championship centre-back. So I don't really understand how he's flying under the radar quite so much. He is one of the Championship's premier BMCBs at West Brom this weekend. Now, you don't need to niche it all the time. You don't need 0.0% all the time. A healthy diet. Sometimes you just need to throw a pidge amongst the pigeons. Carl Piagiani is my centre-back. He is also...
surely he's like 100% selected.
He's maybe 6%.
Wow.
Yeah. He cleared the ball 16 times in the last game against Blackpool. He didn't get that many points because they did concede 2 goals, but I think at home to Rotherham, as discussed, Stevenage I think will go well and win this game, and potentially to 0. And with Jules and Raggett out for Rotherham, the attacking set-piece threat of Piagiani cannot be ignored here. And there's the fact that the way Rotherham attack is quite direct, which I think gives him lots of opportunities to clear his lines in this game. And last but not least, Aidan Flint, an icon of BMCBs in the last decade of EFL history. By all accounts, looked very good on Walsall debut, and I kind of expect him to in this Walsall defence. I think it suits him the way that they play. 15 clearances, he got +3, just 1 clearance away from 4 points. Got 2 blocks as well, and that Gillingham style of play, as discussed last week, I think plays into Flint's hands. So Hyam of Blackburn, Piagiani, captain of Stevenage, and Aidan Flint of Walsall. Now we're into the midfield, which I absolutely nailed last week. Colwill scoring for Cardiff, shots on target, key passes as well. Everything I wanted from Ruben Colwill. And Jay's Cabia, Grimsby's number 9, played up top, scored from the spot, hit the post as well. Good return from my midfielders. How did you get on in the centre of the park?
Do we have to do this? I had a bit of a shocker. I had Ryan the Glove Glover, who got 5 points thanks to his 3 key passes, 1 interception and 90 minutes played. So, for a team that lost 2-0, not the worst result there. Osama Ashley just wasn't on the team sheet when the team was announced at 2:00 on Saturday. Oh, actually, 2:45.
Yeah.
Did you notice that?
Yeah, it's a new thing. 75 minutes before kickoff.
I literally just waited until 2:00 and then went on all the things to have a look, and I was like, they've all been released 15 minutes ago. That was weird.
I would say that team sheet release is one of my highlights of every single week.
Yeah.
So getting it 15 minutes earlier, no complaints from me.
So let's get it done in the morning. I was a bit frustrated. I was on a train. My signal wasn't great. It was all a bit of a nightmare, but I managed to get Curry of Grimsby, one of the other Grimsby scorers in the team. And I was like, brilliant. And when he scored, I was like, yeah, great. And I looked on the app to see, and I'd forgotten that like 5 minutes later, I was like, oh, do you know who is starting for Salford? George Grant, who is a player who like does loads of like ball recovery stuff that you get points for, but also is a set piece taker and scores goals and assists. So I took Curry out and I put Grant in, and Grant was one of my 2 players who got a yellow card.
The Tinkerman.
So he only got 1 point.
Oh, that's a tough scene.
So I'm upset.
I mean, we've been giving it the big one about big meaty centre-backs and how they're the sure thing to rack up the points. The top 3 scorers across League 1 and League 2 last weekend were all midfielders, which makes you think.
Quite a weird weekend for brace scoring midfielders, though, I would say.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Webster.
Yeah.
Murray.
Yes.
Connor Thomas of Crewe.
Conton.
They were the 3 top scorers in the whole of Fantasy EFL last week. 20 points for Webster, 18 for Murray, and Thomas +6 if your midfielder scores, but there's points available for every 2 key passes and shot on target as well. Who is in your midfield?
Basically gone for 2 players. Well, one of them, last time he was in the Championship, was the top scorer in the whole division.
Boom.
Samuel Smodics, who's down as a midfielder.
That feels like a huge opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, he'll be playing as an attacking midfielder, but off George Hurst, who is a target man striker who will enable Smodics to do what he does best, which is scamper in behind onto loose balls. He's a good finisher. We know how good he is with his goal scoring. I think he showed last season in flashes for Ipswich in the Premier League that he will be a good fit for Kieran McKenna in a team that are going to dominate as they do. Chuba Akpom's seemingly imminent arrival at Ipswich might cause him some issues in terms of his minutes played, but I can't imagine Akpom's going to come straight into the team, at least from a starting perspective on a Friday night, given the deal as it hasn't gone through yet as of Tuesday afternoon. They're away at Birmingham, who, you know, we will see how they go on at Championship level. My hunch is that Ipswich are probably a little bit underrated going into this game and maybe will be a bit forgotten. And I think Smodics, if they are going to do the business, will play a big part in that. And then, interestingly, as I said, we're doing this on Tuesday because it's important to timestamp this because it might age quite weirdly. Tyler Dibbling is my second midfielder, who is currently a Southampton player, and Southampton host Wrexham. Now, as I mentioned in the team area, I fancy Saints to win this one. And if Dibbling is still a Saints player, you have to think that he will start. We've seen it loads of times in the past where relegated players will play minutes. Smodics, well, he wasn't relegated, but will play minutes early in the season before they move on. It's not the case they're kind of taken out of it completely. And I think if Dibbling is a Saints player on Friday, he will play. It's just whether or not this rumoured move to Everton comes off or if a bid is accepted in the meantime. The great thing about Fantasy EFL is that if he is, then it's no issue.
Take him
no
out.
bother. Yeah, if I check the team at an hour and 15 minutes before the Saints game, and Dibbling isn't in the squad or isn't in the team, then free of charge, I can go in and I can put someone else in. So now
you don't have to rejig your whole team because the next guy you want is more expensive, and you need to find the.
It's just straight in and out.
Yeah,
no penalty, perfect. So yeah, Dibbling for now.
Okay,
that's subject to change.
Dibbling for now.
What I will say is, if he does play, he's not coming out. This is locked in so long as there's no changes. Yeah.
Okay. Well, not with your reputation as the train-based Tinkerman. No, the 145 Tinkerman.
Ashley was out.
Yeah, no fair.
I could see you doing something where you like put up loads of players you think aren't going to be very good, and so everyone picks them, and then you go and change your team for 10 minutes before kickoff.
Well, I did see Jay's caviar in a lot of teams last weekend, so I am feeling some regret about highlighting some of these absolute bits of gold dust. Connor Coventry, 0.1% owned. Charlton at home to Watford this weekend. He scored 250 points last season in League One. Only Lewis Wing and Davis Keylor-Dunn scored more than him. He's just one of those guys that he's a real interception merchant. He sees a ball, he says, I'll have that.
Yeah.
I'll have that.
Grab it.
I'll have that.
Yeah.
And for every single one, like Pac-Man, he gets points. So as discussed, and you clearly agree, I kind of fancy Charlton to impose their way of playing quite quickly on this Watford side. And I think Coventry a pretty solid bet to pick up decent amount of points at 0.1% owned. And then Cozier Dewberry, the double-barreled winger of Bolton Wanderers,
Good player.
1.5% selected. George noticed.
Yeah.
Stockport Bolton on Sunday. They might have lost 2-0, but Cozier Dewberry stood out massively to me. Coming in off the right-hand side, left-footed player, scored at least one worldie in pre-season doing that, and almost scored with a great shot into the corner, which Courier died, just about poked around the post. Almost set up a goal as well for Burstow going down the outside and Fizzy one across. He played 90 minutes as well, which is what I'm looking for young wide forwards. I think it shows a level of durability, stamina, which I think is really important and a kind of underrated attribute for players like this. So at home to Argyle, who looked super wobbly at the back, I think Cozier Dewberry could do a job and get me some points. Now at the very top of the pitch, we both got one striker. Last week we went premium, or so we thought. Josef Salek, 3 points. Nicky Wells, 5 points. No goals for either. Not ideal. What are you doing this week?
Tom Cannon. Sheffield United host Bristol City in the late kickoff on Saturday. I kind of couldn't really choose between Cannon and Tyrese Campbell. But the reason I went for Cannon is because he will likely start, I think, either through the middle if Louis Barry starts on the left-hand side, or on the left-hand side if Louis Barry doesn't start. So my thinking here is to bring Cannon in, obviously with the caveat that if he isn't in the team and they go with Barry and Campbell, I'll probably bring Campbell in. Bristol City's first game under Gerhard Struber, we'll see how they get on. My hunch is that Sheffield United might see the start of the season quite fast under Ruben Sayas, and I think that his attacking style of play should work well with what is a very talented group of players. Blades obviously incredibly strong at home last season, and I'd be really surprised if they aren't able to get a win and get on the score sheet. And if they do, I think Cannon, who he's had such a weird career where he's dotted around so many times already. It feels like this is a season where he will be one of the main men for Blades under a manager who's incredibly good at getting the best out of young players. I think he'll have a big season, and maybe one of those players where in a few weeks' time, if he can hit his potential and score a lot of goals, he'll be kind of one of the big championship forward players. But right now, maybe seen as being having something to prove.
And at the top of the pitch for me, I've got Stephen Humphreys of Bradford, 2.6% owned, which suggests to me that quite a few people saw what I saw last weekend watching that Bradford-Wigan game back, which is that despite not scoring, Humphreys looked electric. And he's the sort of player that for quite a few years now, on his day at this level in League One, whether it was with Rochdale, Wigan, last season with Barnsley, on his day, he really does look sensational. He's really skillful, he's quick, he can peel wide, he can play through the middle, he can shoot with both feet, he can dribble. Like, what a player. But not that consistent. Currently playing for his third team in the last 3 seasons. But I'm hopeful that he's found a really good home here, and it looks like the sort of club where he might be able to thrive as a bit of a main man at the top of the pitch. He did hit the target with 3 shots. He got 2 assists. He showed great feet. And they are playing against Northampton Town, who looked very wobbly, conceding 3 against Wigan last weekend. So Stephen Humphreys is my attacker. My captain is Carl Pidge Piagiani of Stevenage at home to Rotherham.
My captain, as it will be all season, is Oxford United's Michael Hellick.
A set and forget captain, as they call it, in the fantasy realm.
Unless he gets injured.
God, I hope he doesn't get injured.
Me too.
For Oxford United's sake.
Really hope he doesn't get injured.
Something we can all get behind. Yeah, as you can tell, spirits are pretty high. We are just over 24 hours away from the start of the championship season. That Ipswich-Birmingham game is an absolutely must-watch, and make sure that before that game starts, or at the very least before the 3 p.m s, because the deadline will take you all the way up to that point, sign up to Fantasy EFL, select your team, and join the NTT20 Mini League, and make sure that you know that if you win your club's Mini League, you will get a free season ticket for the 26-27 season, which is some prize as well. Download the app, join our mini league, and take us on. Thanks very much for listening, and go well.